It was a it was a tightly packed room at Lime Rock Park last round. Perhaps in sympathy to the drivers, the organizers have scheduled a place where you can stretch out your legs as a follow-up. Road America remains perhaps one of the most popular and persistent tracks on this series schedule. Fast and containing lots of chances to overtake, this Wisconsin circuit almost never fails to put on a good show. What will today's race be like? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the PRL GTE Sportscar Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ossian Puhaka. Behind the scenes is our director, Jay Kennedy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. A lot has been said about America's National Park of Speed, but not everyone may be familiar with its ins and outs. Ozzy, why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown about this place?
Certainly will, Joe. So we're at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. 4 miles of racing beauty. That's 6.5 kilometers for those uh, empirically challenge. 14 turns, and we'll have a 60-minute race here today. And it is a fast circuit with many sweeping bends and many fast corners to.
Absolutely. And as always, today's race is brought to you by SIMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at simsa.net. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The winner of Division 1 here in the PRL GTE Sports Car Series will get a ButtKicker Gamer 2 or a simulation kit. Also, both drivers of the winning team and the team's championship will get a free t shirt. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Now, we have just finished qualifying here, and we'll get to the grid in a moment. Before we do, let's take a quick look at the championship, starting off with the drivers. Of course, up at the top of that is Jesse T. Stevens now leading the way ahead of Carl Modoff. Jesse having taken the win last round, 5 points separating them. And then Rodrigo Mies giving chase, who's been relatively quick himself, just not able to seal the deal so far. Rubilar and Miller round out the rest of the top five. Ossian, what about the team's championship?
It is Punto CL Racing Red on top of the team's championship with Rodrigo Mies and Nicolas Rubilar. SRT Sport Blue with Jean-Marc Tremblay and Jack Broderick in the second place. It's Radicals Online rounding out your top three with Jesse Stevens and Jason Hodgson. GDR Ventus Rennsport SET with Sean Romick and Ted Levendick in fourth place, and Full Send Racing with Mac Miller and Stephen Ash, full sending their way into the edges of top five.
And of course, in case you've never watched this series before, here's a few race details just so that you can get up to speed. We are in round 3, as we mentioned, and the drivers do have their choice of 4 different makes of car in these GTE class vehicles here on iRacing. They have one drop week that they cannot use in the last round, and they also will have a stop and go penalty if they hit a certain amount of incidents. At 13, they will be sent to the pits. At 20, they will be removed from the track, and there's no spare car if they get damaged. Now, with that out of the way, cars are already lining up on the grid. So why don't we head down there and give you an idea of exactly how this race is going to kick off? Up at the top of the field, Carl Modoff takes another pole for himself. Rodrigo Mies will be starting in second, with Jesse Stevens in the third position. Christopher Pfeffer will be P4 today, and then the next row has Horatio Calquin to the inside. Stephen Ash starts in sixth. Then it's Michael M. Ross in the seventh position. Ignacio Fredes in eighth, with Anthony Pisano in ninth, and Christian Eisler rounding out the top 10.
In 11th place, Justin Rem will be gutted to miss out the top 10 by 3 thousandths of a second, with Sean Romick starting up alongside him. Rafa Russo 13th, Louis Pine Jr. 14th, Caleb John Lavender 15th, Mac Miller 16th, then it's Ken Huber 17th, Jason Hodgson 18th, James Hebb 19th, and Andres Espinosa rounding out your top 20.
21st goes to Jean Marc Tremblay with Jeff Carollo starting 22nd. Had a bit of a moment there in the qualifying, so might see a little bit of a post race penalty depending on how the stewards saw that incident. Ted Lowendick will be starting 23rd with Sean Duhamel in the 24th position. David Duino, P25 for him with Kyle Streikars in 26th and Brett Thurman in 27th. Then you've got Elijah Mitchell in 28th, followed by Stacy Dunnigan in 29th. Kenny Rodriguez rounds out your top 30. Last couple cars to get a time in are James LeBlanc in 31st, Jay Steffi in 32nd, Lawson Christie in 33rd, and Dave Peterson, the last of them. Bill Kraus did not get a time in, and I'm checking. Yes, he is starting this race because he is out on the grid as they take off on their way down towards turn one currently. Now, Ossian, I know we've got a little bit of a truncated start to this broadcast, but one important thing we need to talk about is this orange zone they've implemented this season.
Indeed, and it is a genius idea. So all this time you see these cars heading off to a rolling start through turns 1 and turn 3 and the turn 2 that doesn't exist and the turn 4 that is two corners and all the way to exit of turn 5 you got an orange zone. Now the orange zone is a zone where at the start of the race the stewards will take a look at each and every incident and they will also hand out extra penalties to those drivers who have caused incidents during the start of the race, and that is to mitigate aggression and to limit the drivers from making those courageous and oftentimes foolish moves in the first portions of this race.
You can see them heading through that turn five right now. One of them slowing up quite a bit. That's Rodrigo Mies that you see backing off from what I believe is the front row. Yeah, he's starting in second today. Now he's getting it back up there. Wonder if maybe he's just trying to get those tires warmed up. Speaking of which, let's take a glance at the temperatures out here today because that's been a big talking point with this new tire model. And you can see that we've got somewhat cooler conditions, not incredibly cold though, Ossian.
No, not at all. It is clear skies, 24 degrees Celsius is the ambient temp and track temp is 26 Celsius and I believe Joe you can translate that to American.
Yeah, 78 degrees Fahrenheit, as you can see on your screen. A little bit of a wind, too. It's been gusting and blowing around from what we can see. It's changed direction a couple times since we pulled that graphic up. Hopefully, it'll calm down a little bit because they don't need any more challenge than they've got. It's been incredibly tight, the racing so far this year. And especially after last round, we talked about it earlier, Ozzy, that this is going to be quite a switch from Lime Rock.
It is, and hopefully we don't see any blown tires this time around. In Lime Rock, those tires don't get a break at all. In here, you got those long straights where you can cool out the tires a little bit. So hopefully we don't see any more of the issues that took a couple of top runners out of last race, most notably Car Moto of blowing out his tire in Lime Rock Park. So it's a different kind of challenge than Lime Rock Park. You can stretch your legs out, but still it's gonna be close racing. The field will be bunched up together thanks to those long straights, and as they head on towards the run up to the main straight, you can see how they are each and everyone preparing for this race, Joe, and it's gonna be a good one. I can promise you that one. Road America, always good racing.
You can see that the sun's still pretty low in the sky because it's only 9 a.m. virtual standard time. And that means that with all the trees surrounding this track, there's quite a few shadows in some of the portions, especially on that run down to Canada Corner that we just saw earlier. Now they come out of the final corner, though, and Karl Modov has control of the field. He waits patiently and actually checks the field up a little bit here. Everybody getting awful close behind him. They come up to that Caterpillar sign, and now he starts to accelerate as they crest over the hill. And this caught Mies out. He's already under attack with Jesse Stevens, last round's winner, coming up the inside. It's a long run down to turn one. Who is going to be able to get the car woed up on cold brakes and cold tires? Mies comes back at him in the braking zone. It's side by side for second through that corner, but Mies runs out of track and actually has to go off course a little bit to collect it. Everybody else behind's good except for Tremblay, who finds himself just a little bit into the tires, but so far so good.
Yeah, Jean-Marc Tremblay spinning out on the first lap, trying to get it back going, but everyone else is doing fine so far. Orange Zone really doing its trick, and as they head to turn number 5, we'll see if anyone gets anxious here or if it's the same story. It's
Ash,
actually a great battle for behind the leaders
oh, the
as
leader. The leader's wide. Modoff went way wide down into turn 5, and Jesse Stevens sneaks to the inside, gets the lead away. Mies is still down in third position. He was under attack from Ash. I think that's what you're trying to get out
Oh,
there
and we
for a
have a
moment.
spinner. It's John Lavender in position number 15, spinning out at the exit of turn number 6, and that's gonna cost him a lot of time. He'll get it back going, I'm sure, but now the orange zone is off, and now they can properly start racing, Joe. And we have seen a couple of cars making mistakes. Louis Pime Jr. going wide as well, so he's gonna lose a lot of time in that one as well. But the leaders, they are still going well. And look at Mode of Joe. He's getting closer and closer. I wonder how soon it will be that he wants that leader position back.
Is he aggressive enough to try and take it down into Canada corner? I don't think he's quite near enough. And as they get onto the binders, he's going to stay in line for now. So he knows he's got plenty of racing left with this 60-minute event here today. A little bit of side-by-side racing behind them, as it does appear Rame managed to overtake Ross for 12th position as well. I think we're going to get everybody completing the lap at least, except for Tremblay.
Yeah, it's odd that Tremblay, went out after such a light contact. Also, Christopher Pfeffer has lost a lot of positions in P number 4. Uh, Starting from P number 4, he is now all the way down to the edges of top 10, and he is being challenged by Justin Rem, as we have a replay on screen.
This is James Hebb. Oh, ooh, that was a big hit out of the kink, and that's why you saw him so slow heading down to Canada corner. In the meantime, he's come into the pits to try and get that repaired. Let's head back to the leaders, though, because I think Carl
Let's
Modoff
not
might
care
be
side
less
by
on the
side for
attack.
P10.
Oh, you.
Oh, yeah, just over. Timing there, but they were battling side by side all the way to main straight and through turn number 3, and I believe Rain is gonna come back at Pfeffer now actually for that 10th position, because he is going to the outside and he is going to the outside of turn number 5. Let's see if he's brave enough in the brakes. Oh, he is, but he's gonna still run a little bit wide, and I believe Pfeffer is gonna secure that one at this point. But a great battle there.
Yeah, and it's stacking up quite a train because it's not just Pfeffer and Rame now involved. You see Ross in there. Russo is behind them. And then Ken Huber a little ways back in that bright yellow Ferrari. They got a few more cars behind them, but by that point, you get a little bit bigger of a distance as they come down through the hurry downs and into the carousel. Let's see if Pfeffer can stretch himself out and keep himself from being attacked into the braking in Canada corner. First, they got to go through the kink, though.
Yeah, they have to go to the kink and see them all, bunching up, lining up, trying to challenge each other. I think Ken Huber is actually closest out of these to Rafael Russo if he wants to attack. Let's see if he can make the Ferrari really work. We know how much torque that car has, but no, he is not able to brake quite late enough. However, that's very wide indeed from Russo, and that's going to allow Huber to come back on the exit of the corner, but not quite close enough. Now, one thing I want to mention to our viewers, Joe, is that since the balance of performance on iRacing was adjusted, we have seen some drivers to change cars. They were allowed to do that, and for example, Punto CL Racing, a lot of their drivers have switched to Fords.
We might want to head back up to the lead once again because Modoff staying tucked up right behind the number 36. There you see, as they come out of turn 1, they're bringing along both Mies and Ash. They've separated themselves from Cal Quinn by about 2.5 seconds. So still about 4 cars in play. This is pretty typical of this track here, Ozzy, that we get this sort of pack racing.
Yeah, and it's a track that would work great for NASCAR as well. Oh, and as we see, Fred is going alongside Cal Quinn now behind them. So for the 5th position, I believe the Punto cars are finally going to change positions. That is it. And that's an easy job done. Cal Quinn not going to challenge him too much. Will he also allow Eisler through? Yes, he will. So they will switch the rear gunner on the group. And it is awesome to see 3-4 GTEs in a group bunched up all like that. But the leaders, they are the real story of the race. I want to see the aggression from Carl Modov. What can he do after that devastating loss in Lambert Park? And what can Rodrigo Mies do? My love for Rodrigo has not been a secret throughout the course of this season. So, it'll be awesome to see him challenging for a win once again.
For a glance there, we were watching Pfeffer, Rame, Romig, and Ross coming from turn 6 with quite a bit little pack as we've now come back up to the front. And you can see them swinging it back through the kink once again. This doesn't seem to be the strong point for Modoff. Every time I look back at him, in this half of the course, he seems like he's dropped away a few car lengths from Jesse.
Yeah, it is that Porsche quality, and he's in dirt here too, so that's gonna play a part. It's not that huge with these GTE cars, but there is still turbulent wash, and you can feel that especially in the opening laps of this race. Now, another point is that he's noticed that he is not significantly faster than Jesse right now, so he could be just saving his tires for later portions of this race, and maybe saving some fuel as well. Who knows? So we could see some trench warfare between the top three at the early portions of this race.
That's a good way of putting it. As he closes up on the front stretch, at least gets awful close, but again does not attack. We have seen those fuel games played out in this series quite often, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does become a major factor of who winds up with the checkered flag. Once again, just staying about equidistant apart down the Moraine Sweep with Stevens leading. That's Modot you see behind. And then Rodrigo Mies back there in third. Ash still bringing up the fourth of this quartet.
Yeah, and in the fifth place is Ignacio Rodriguez Fredes, uh, in front of his teammate Christian Eisler, in front of his teammate Horacio Calguin, and Anthony Pisano actually catching them up a little bit. So at least catching up Calguin a little bit last time by. Of course, Calguin lost a lot of positions, and they're side by side, I believe, behind him.
And a little bit of contact. Huber overtaken by Espinoza, tried to turn in, and Andres hadn't quite turned that wheel, but they get out the other side. Behind them, that is going to allow Mac Miller to catch up, and he's bringing Hodgson in behind also. As they come out and towards the carousel. Oh, Hodgson looks like he goes a little bit wide, kicking up the dirt on the exit of 8.
Yeah, and meanwhile, back in the race lead, it is an interesting position. Modov is very close to Jesse Stevens now, but once again losing a little bit of time on the straight. However, Mies is close behind them too, and Rodrigo Mies, if he decides to play aggressive and go for the lead here, he could really ruin Car Modov's plans. Because what Modov would want is them to run away from anyone else, so he could at least secure second place, even if he loses the battle. Save fuel, play his own game. But Mies is behind him, and they can't discard Rodrigo Mies, nor can they discard Stephen Ash, who is in a great fourth place. So, looking at the lap times for that group, they are in a league of their own. Jesse Stevens 201.7, Modov zero point 0.7, Mies zero point 0.5, Ash zero point 0.8. And just as I was saying, that Fredes was actually able to go with 201.5 as well. So it is an interesting thing. Maybe Punto CL Racing know that Christian Eisler is their best shot at catching up to the group. So if they start battling, they're gonna have to look for some company from right behind them. But so far, so good for our leading group.
It's starting to look familiar because we had almost this exact scenario yesterday out in Sonoma with the GT4 Club Sports Series, where we had two winners up at the front and we had Mies looking for his victory back there. Well, we wound up with a third different victor in that series, so will we have a repeat of that, and can Mies manage to insert himself into the championship? They're starting to drop Ash a little bit. Look at him fall back there. It's about 7/10 to that green and black machine.
Yeah, Ash is not looking very comfortable, but he's trying harder and harder to catch up with that group. And looking at the lines through the carousel here, he was very wide last time by. This time by, he's staying up closer to the apex of that corner. Of course, we have two questions always, Joe, at Road America. Number one question is, where is turn two? And number two question is, where is the apex on the carousel?
Well, there's two apexes in the carousel as far as I'm concerned, but then I'm not fast, so not worth asking. Oh,
There is
we got a
one,
car on the
by the way.
wall. That's Pime.
Oh
Louise Pime
no.
Jr. finding it in turn 8. Oh, when he made contact, Jay Steffi apparently put himself right in the line that Pime wanted. We're going to look at the replay here.
Yeah, you don't want to change your lines under braking, so he was defending the inside was Jay, and then when he came to the corner, he was kind of like cheating to the outside because he was clear, but what he didn't see coming is how much better Luis Pime Jr. was able to be on the brakes. So that's a tough one to call, but Pime just, going wide. They had a little bit of contact, nothing too drastic, but Pime Jr. there losing a lot of time. He had to reverse out of the gravel trap as well, so, and he actually ended up um, in Canada corner after that. So Pime Jr. is actually out of this race. He ended up in Canada corner, spearheading the wall. So, I don't think he was feeling like racing much after that little incident.
So we've switched back to the leaders, still staying in line, but now instead of four, we've seemed to be getting three a little bit wide. That's the same mistake that Modoff made, and Jesse Stevens is going to repeat it, but it's not going to open the door for Carl Modoff. He backs out before turn 6. Ooh, it seems like it is becoming tricky to try to get the car stopped down into that downhill corner.
Yeah, the tires are heating up all the time, and you get so much rubber into that corner as well. I think that is the biggest factor. You are so hard on the brakes. And remember, these are GTE cars. No anti-lock braking system, just traction control. A lovely traction control, but still only that. So it becomes a factor later on in this race, and we are seeing it heating up behind them too. P number 9, very close in very close contention. Anthony Pisano, Christopher Pfeffer, and Justin Rem.
Rame getting very close to the back of Pfeffer, too. Doesn't get the run he needs out of the kink. That would have really been the deciding factor. You can see Pisano at the front of the trio, and he's well clear of them, so no attack down into the right-hander of Canada corner. A little bit of dirt collecting there. You can see them kicking up as many seem to have already gone wide, and that is certainly making it slippery.
Yeah, and we are back to 4-car train here, Joe, for the leading group because of that mistake Jesse Stevens made last time buying turn number 5.
Well, so Ash responding, he's not going to let us get away with calling him out that way quite yet and getting himself back in this group. We're still only 13 minutes into this race, so quite a ways to go. There hasn't been a lot of action, but some intense pressure up at the top. The fact that all 4 of them have been almost 2 car lengths apart for this whole time. Meanwhile, going back to Christopher Pfeffer in the number 66, he's still chasing Pisano as he's playing a double roll because Rame is staying right underneath that rear wing.
Yeah, and Pfeffer is the teammate, of course, of Anthony Pisano, while Justin Rame is not her teammate at all. So, could be playing rear gunner, but they don't have much of an opportunity to do that to the RSR esports squad here. So, they are just fighting it out with each other. We don't know how many team orders these guys have. Some teams we're seeing better coordinated. We saw an excellent example with the Punto CR Racing 4 GDs earlier on. But these guys, well, maybe they just want to race each other. Maybe they want to race each other in peace and not have a third guy there. But, that's just tough luck. That's just racing. And they are having themselves a great tussle here on the bottom end of lap number 7 in positions number 8, 9, and 10. And you saw Pisano going very wide on the carousel there. That was an interesting line. Usually the preferred line varies from car to car, but Joe, for me, it's usually go up to the inside, very inside, just send it into the inside, 10 allow it to run wide, and 10 apex very late. And we're seeing quite a few different takes on the early portions of this race. And I believe we should go back to our leaders because Modov and Stevens now very close.
Ooh, and this is a good exit out of the final corner from Modoff. But every time I've seen him get close to Stevens, he's lifted. And I'm starting to think that that pays credence to your theory about fuel saving. This will be really telling here. He's definitely close enough. He should be getting a slipstream, and he's staying within that slipstream, but he, once again, gets off the gas before he gets on the binders. So Modoff is in no hurry currently.
No, but they should communicate that. He should go to radio Stevens and be like, mate, I'm saving fuel behind you. Of course, you don't want your opponent to do that. But at the same time, he should signal it somehow that Jesse shouldn't defend those lines coming into the corners because Jesse was defending on the main straight. And you can see Carl looking to the inside once again. Yeah.
They're going to be side by side with Rem to the outside coming down into turn 5. He's going to have to work hard to get around him here because it's not easy to complete that pass, but he finds the grip off the corner, and in fact, he's going to have to do it again because it's another left-hander here into 6. Blinking's been an issue with Pfeffer all race long, and that certainly makes things a little hairy here for Justin Raymond as he gets cut off into turn 7. Even though he had the inside that time, he couldn't complete it.
And they touched on the exit of turn number 5, but great job. Oh, and Pfeffer spins and gets T-boned terribly. And Michael and Ross is gonna pass both of them, but Justin Rem T-boning Christopher Pfeffer there on the exit of the corner, and that's because Pfeffer just lost it on the exit of turn number 7, and that is so easy to do. Turn number 8, I should correct.
Shame it came down to that. Romig got through as well. So Ross and Romig up to 10th and 11th, respectively. And amazingly, Pfeffer managed to keep going. There's the replay. Wow, he hit hard enough to put that car in the air.
Yeah, and that's no light impact at all, and that's gonna hurt you, of course. The good thing about these cars is that the Porsche at least has its engine on the back. As we know, it's a Porsche. So, that's not gonna hurt the engine too much, even if you T-bone someone like that, but it is gonna hurt the car. And I don't think either of them will be in the top 10 once this race is over.
I'm shocked he didn't have damage to his suspension, though, because he's already back on it. It has repassed Romig for that 11th place. Pfeffer trying to regain what he has lost here.
Yeah, and
Go
something
ahead.
I should point out here, or was pointed by our director, Jake Kennedy, actually, I should be honest here, is that Fredes is almost in the draft of the lead group. Now that they've been battling it out a little bit, tussling it out a little bit, we saw earlier on how Fredes was let through, or Eisler was let through rather by the rest of his teammates. And we can see Fredes now using that to his great advantage, being able to escape from that 4 GD pack and being able to put in some great lap times. And as a result of that, I believe he actually has the fastest lap of this race so far in lap number 7. He put in a 201.4. So he is someone we shouldn't count out from the lead battle yet, and the 4 are about to become 5.
Eventually, even 6 if Eisler can be brought into this too. You can see him back there chasing his teammates. We've had a few DNFs already, sadly. We've lost Heb, we mentioned. Tremblay did get back out there, by the way. Kenny Rodriguez is gone. Luis Pime Jr. has been taking lots of repairs, and Dave Peterson recently has had to come into pit lane. We might just be within the pit window here, just barely, because we're closing in on 20 minutes into this race. But that is going to be tight if anybody elects for an early stop.
Yeah, it's going to be very tight, and that's not the faster strat usually. However, if you are stuck behind the battle pack, you might want to consider it. If you're Stephen Ash, you might want to consider it, but then again, why? The leaders are doing great pace, you're staying right with them, you are in the draft, you can just save fuel. But some guys may be far in the back, why not go for an early stop instead of battling your way through the traffic?
We got a car off in Canada corner. Elijah Mitchell, and he's just taken a tow. So I'm trying to see if he had contact in this one. I think he managed to avoid it. Certainly gave a big scare to Kyle Strykars. Here's the replay. Once we get this view, I'd love to see the onboard for Kyle to see this happen in front of him.
Yeah, that's not what you want to have happen in front of you, would you?
That's Kyle in the green car right there, just kind of nudge himself out of the way, like, I don't want any part of this.
Yeah, and Mitchell is out of the race as well, taking a toll when disconnected. So, he becomes another casualty of Road America. But some guys who are not casualties, the leading trio, and might that just be me, but Mies is eking closer every time. He has surely become wise to the fact that Modov is not being very aggressive now. So maybe he wants into that second place position, or maybe he's enjoying his stay here at the popcorn spot. Either way, it's gonna be an interesting one because once those pit stops are over, they have no reason to really save anything after that. Maybe tire us a little bit, maybe try to create a gap behind them, but realistically, I want to see them pit as soon as possible so we can get to racing proper here.
Absolutely. So far, it's been very much a thinker's man game for these top 4. Nobody really making any drastic moves, aggressive moves, other than the first couple laps where we had some mistakes and some drivers capitalizing. So
yeah, and
everybody, go ahead.
Rodrigo Mies actually had an interesting moment in the King. Nothing too spectacular, but he went very wide and he was very close to spinning out due to hitting his left-hand tires on the grass. He didn't even go loose, but that would have been a spin had he gone 1 millimeter more to the left. And as a result of that, he's lost a bit of time and he's starting to understeer quite badly behind the leading duo. So, that's an interesting point to bring up at this point. And Modov's going alongside.
Well, ate my words. I was just going to say, since there's nothing happening, I thought we could jump back, but no. Carl Modoff finally deciding now's the time to make the move. He backs out of it in turn one, and they now come out of three onto the Moraine sweep. Not sure he'll get another attempt here because he looks a little too far back for this one.
Yeah,
Look at
and back in
this.
P number 7, there's a good battle as well. They are side by side, Anthony Pisano as well as Horatio Calguin. And Calguin has been the slowest of the 4GD Punto trio, so he is coming under attack from Anthony Pisano. Now let's see if Pisano can make it work into turn number 5. On the outside, he tries, and not quite able to make the crossover work either, because Calguin is wise to that. He will try into 6, but sees no room there, and as a result has to tuck right back into that wonderful view behind Fort GT.
I'll tell you what, a bit of a battle happening between Romig and Pfeffer ever since Christopher got past him. He's now, oh, and Christopher had a big bobble coming through turn 7. He catches the car somehow to keep it out of the wall. He might be parking it, though. He's slowing down. He hasn't hit anything, but I think he's had enough.
Yeah, he's had enough. The car is undrivable right now. Let's see what happened to him. Here we come into turn number 7. Oh, he lost it on the entry of the corner. So he just lost it on the entry of the corner. Wasn't too badly even in the grass. Just tried to turn it in, lost the rear end, corrected it, and then just, went screw this, basically.
Absolute shame because he seemed to have decent pace at top 10. Definitely could have been on the cards today. Let's head back to our leaders, though, because Modoff, this is where he tried to make a move last time, into turn 1. And once again, a good bit of speed and a little bit of slipstream is going to offer him an opportunity. Staying to the inside, Stevens plays defense. He goes to the outside. This is definitely attack. This is not the waiting game anymore. Looks for the over-under. He might be able to get this off the corner. Once again, covering off the inside. Stevens making sure turn 3 doesn't give him a chance. He sends it in very deep and shallow, though, and he's going to have a horrible exit. Modoff might actually have it this time.
Yeah, and that was a little naughty from Stevens. He changed his line twice heading into turn number 3. You don't want to do that because he was blocking Modov, and thankfully Modov saw that coming because there could have been contact, but he's coming to the outside into turn number 5. Not easy this, but he's gonna get a good entry. Trying for the over-under, nothing doing here, and Mees doing a great job staying out of this one so far.
Oof, man, great defense from Jesse Stevens so far, especially dealing with a fast character like Carl Modoff. I'm kind of with you, though. You bring up Mees. I would have thought he would have tried to take advantage of this. You see the leaders battling in front of you. You think that maybe I could get myself in that situation and try and get 2 for 1.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a long straight to attack, and he doesn't want to surprise either of them at this point. He just wants to see them battle. The way it ends up, he can save fuel a little bit, and he doesn't want to cause a wreck by being a third car into a two-car battle, because that can so often go so wrong. He could be opportunistic, but he's not seeing a clear move to take a 2-on-1 just yet. There's just no room for him. Maybe if they go alongside each other into the last corner, he can brake very early, get a massive exit, and then pass them both on the main straight. But so far, no room to make a move that would really make sense.
So as they come back to where this kicked off twice now in the previous 2 laps, Carl Modoff, he tried it twice and it didn't work twice in a turn 1. Is it time to back off and stop attempting that, or do you keep going at it?
Yeah, if the leader is taking a defensive line like this, I don't see why he wouldn't attempt it. Try it on the outside, try to find something else, try to find holes in Jesse's defense. He's gathering information all the time, and that crossover was a thing of beauty. But Jesse goes very hard on defense once again, but not able to lock it off this time. However, what Car wanted here was a good exit, however, not quite able to make it work. And once again, Rodrigo and Stephen hanging back at this point. But he's not able to exit as well onto the straight as he was last time. So we'll have to wait and see. I think Carr is now trying, poking, jabbing, prodding, trying to see what Jesse will do, and he knows now that Jesse at least partially drives from his mirrors. And that's something you can very well use to your advantage if you are as good of a racing driver as Carr Modov is. Because you can then fake a move to the inside, go to the outside, or even the other way around. Take a move to the outside, last second lunge to the inside. You can really easily fool a middle driver like this. So he's just trying to find out what kind of driver is Jesse Stevens and using that to his advantage at the later portions of this race. So Carl is being very intelligent and very careful and very calm and collected so far.
This is another good one coming out of the carousel, but then you got to get the launch off the kink too. And Karl Modov does that pretty well. If it didn't work in turn one, maybe it'll work in Canada Corner. Once again, holding off as shallow as possible to force him to the outside. Jesse Stevens, this time he sends it in way too deep. This should be an easy over-under for Karl Modov. No, he gets cut off before he can get in there.
No room for him to try it there. He had a great exit. That's what you want to do. Let's see if he tries it in the last corner. No, he doesn't. I think that's one of the underrated overtaking opportunities here in Road America is the last corner. Sure, you will ruin your exit onto the main straight, but you can so easily send it down to the inside the way you take that line wide. But instead, he has to try it once again on the main straight.
Goes all the way out to the left side, drifting off to meet him. Jesse Stevens trying to open up that corner to keep him from getting the over-under once again. And he's going to just drift him out to the outside on the curb of turn one. Modov takes a little bit of a look. Now he's starting to play games. He's trying to get into the head of Jesse Stevens.
He is, and he knows. Remember that point about mirror driving? He knows now that he's seeing what will Jesse do, and he will keep Jesse on his toes. Never let him concentrate on his own driving now that he's in battle mode. Look at this one. Into turn 5, Jesse doesn't defend it. And I think if I was Carr, I would have entertained a late break there. Oh, but Jesse getting confused by that a little bit, messing up his exit on turn number 5, and into 6 they go, and they are basically two cars inside the space where you can fit a one car. It's an 8-wheel train, and Rodrigo and Steven just watching them, as is Fredes, who has, I think, burned his tires a little bit because he's not caught up to the pack as soon as I was expecting him to. So that's something to keep an eye on. But at this point, it's the leading duo that are really the stars of this show.
Fredes has caught them somewhat. It's cut down by about half a second since I looked last lap. So he's gaining somewhat. It's just a matter of if he can continue to chop that down and really insert himself into the situation. Oh, and Fredes. It was Fredes that just wrecked in the kink.
Oh no!
Did he hit anything?
So let's see. Let me see that. Did he hit anything? He just. Oh yeah, he lost it on the entry of the corner and hit the inside wall a little bit. He's got some damage to the front of his car, but a neat 360, and that could have been so much worse. Usually you don't talk much about continuing your race if you break in the kink, but Fredes got really lucky and he knew what to do. He lost it, he hit the brakes and just tapped the inside wall. Let's go back to the leaders because Modov is once again at it into turn number 1.
This time he's squeezing him. He's not giving him the full width of the road. So he's starting to get even more aggressive, and Stevens can't quite shove him out this time. Modov holds his ground, but he finally backs off as they come into turn 3. Tactics are starting to change as Carl is looking to throw the kitchen sink at things anymore.
Yeah, and Carl is seeing this aggressive defense from Jesse. Once again, Jesse going way wider than he's entitled to in that corner, and that's a late block. That's a late block from Jesse Stevens.
Oh, and he's paying for it.
Yeah, Karl Modov hitting him. I'm not too sure whether that was just a last minute, screw this, you're out of the way, or whether it was a mistake. I'm sure it was a mistake. But, Jesse Stevens, I must say at this point after that block, I'm not someone who's a fan of dirt driving, but he had that coming. He just had that coming. That was one block too many, Jesse.
We're going to watch it from the replay. Carl's not the type of guy to punt somebody off intentionally. Yeah, he was just trying to take to the racing line, and it looked like he kind of drifted in front of him.
Yep.
So this changes Carl to our new leader. Mies is now in second, and Ash gets promoted onto the podium. But Carl looked a little bit off on a few of the corners after that incident. I wonder if he got a little damage, and Mies maybe could take advantage of that.
Maybe he was just confused, after the incident because he didn't want to do that. So maybe he's just, a little bit mentally shocked about that. But Jesse, I'm not saying he, should have been wrecked. I'm saying that when you change your line under braking, that is what's gonna inevitably happen. That is just gonna happen. So as sad as it is, he had that coming for him, and maybe he will learn a lesson from here. Maybe he will next time think twice before doing that. So it is somewhere where you just place a risk onto yourself by playing aggressive, and you're trusting the guy behind way too much to not just do you in. So that's a lesson for every racing driver out there. Just because you see Max Verstappen doing it on TV, don't do it
Ooh,
yourself,
Cal
please.
Quinn is in, and so is Fredez. So both of them pitting now. Fredez obviously with a little bit of damage to try and repair it almost exactly halfway. To sum up what you were saying, Aussie, and I guess it's a case of you play with fire and you get burned.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's a shame that a lot of drivers have gained fans due to such tactics, such as Max Verstappen. But that's a discussion for another day. And Jesse Stevens and Anthony Pisano are very close up to each other now at P number 5 and 6. So Stevens has managed to stay ahead of him, but he is last time by now 7 seconds behind the leader. So that's something he's gonna have to work with here. He's gonna have to work with to see where can he climb up in this race. He's in a fifth position. That is not bad championship wise. That could have been so much worse. But he will be also gutted to know that Carmodo, Rodrigo Me, Stephen Ash, and Christian Eisler are where he's having very difficult time to catch them up anymore.
I need to put you and Johan Vandebel in a room together, our Dutch commentator, and put the topic to Max Verstappen and see what happens. But as we watch the two fight, Stevens and Pisano for sixth place, I think Stevens has the better pace because he's been creeping away from that number 21. He's 8 seconds behind the leader, though, after that being tipped off in turn 5 last lap. So he's got a lot of ground to make up if he wants to try and attempt a victory, which I don't quite think is going to be on the cards anymore. We're back up to Mies now on screen as we ride on board over the crest of Bill Mitchell Bend and up to the final corner. Will any of our leaders take a pit stop this time, potentially?
Yes.
And yeah, Mies does.
Mies has been very smooth in this race. I've been watching him last time by in previous laps, and you could see maybe Carmodov, very aggressive on the exits of the corners, just sliding it out right to the exit. He has a smooth style, I know, but he was pushing hard, whereas Rodrigo, he was, just keeping his line, and he looked so very composed out there. He looked like he was driving at 9 tenths, whereas Car was driving at 10 tenths, and he's doing an early stop. Let's see if he drops into traffic or whether he still play an advantage to him. I
And
hope he has his braking on the spot and his fuel calculation on spot as well.
on 3 cars on screen in, that's Carollo, Strykars, and Lowendick as well in the mid pack. I was just heading back there to see if this was going to be a battle, but it looks like it is a fight of the pit crews now amongst them, all looking for their stalls. As back out comes Mies. He is going to return in 12th place, and he does have traffic in front of him. That's Jean-Marc Tremblay, who is a lap down from him, so he should hopefully pull out of the way and won't hold him up too much.
Yeah, and he came into a great gap aside from that, Tremblay, I'm sure he will be out of the way as soon as possible. And then it's a whopping gap next to David Duino, who is in 12th place, and Ken Huber as well. So he doesn't have any battle packs ahead of him, and he gets a clear run, a bit of draft from Tremblay, gets a clean pass, doesn't lose any time, and he's now able to bide his time and put those lap times in and see when the leaders are going to come in. Now, this is not on paper the fastest strat. The fastest plan is to always be as late as possible, but we have to see what happens with the leaders at this point. Unfortunately for me, I think the leader right now, Karmodov, he doesn't have anyone challenging him. Ash has dropped back and he only has light traffic. But we'll have to see whether Modov will take it to the pit lane this time by. No, he won't. He was thinking about it, but no, he doesn't. Stephen Ash will, however.
You see him ducking into pit lane, and we also saw exiting that Corolla was ahead of Strykars. You might have noticed that Lowendick had a very slow stop, so he's now 4 seconds behind them. Not sure what cost the 172 so much in pit lane. A bunch of our leaders are in. Ash, Eisler, Stevens, Pisano is in there, Ross, Romig. You know what? I think Modov may get one lap more than everybody else simply because he played so patient on that first stint.
Yeah, he was saving fuel, and saving fuel, it is a great strat. So Modov has been doing very well in that regard, and as a result of that, he doesn't really have anyone challenging him. Now, my question is, where will Stephen Nash come back to the track in relation to Rodrigo Mies? I think Mies will be ahead of him. He should be ahead of him at this point, but it's gonna be very close. And here comes Mies. Yeah, Ash is gonna come back way behind him, actually. The gap is now bigger than it was before.
Ooh, and I think some of that is with the pit stop itself. I'm seeing a 2 second difference between the 88 and the 11 during their stop. So it is critical that you get a good in and out and you spend as little time stationary as possible. There you see the comparison on screen between them. Modov is got just a couple more corners to go, and then we expect him to come in.
Oh, I'm taking very wide of the king terror. I thought about 10-10s earlier. His line is very precise, and it always stuns me how consistently these drivers are able to take the king because it is not an easy corner. And they are side by side, I believe, further back there as well. There's a good battle. I believe that was Russo and Rem. And Rem is trying to the inside once again, turn 5, but nothing doing there. Trying for a crossover, see if he's able to make it happen. These are positions, well, on paper, positions 16 and 8, but of course, Russo just did his pit stop, so that is screwing it up, and Rem has already done it before.
Yeah, this is for 11th effectively between the two of them. Our leader finally comes in. Karl Modov down the lane. Can Mies find something with this stop? Is it been enough in the clear air that he can try and jump Modov? He has on Stephen Ash, and that gap is stated about 2.5 seconds between himself and Stephen. Right now, Modov is just coming down to his pit stall, and he is in. He gets it cleanly.
And Mies is in the last corner, accelerating up to the main straight right now. He is coming up to almost 200 kph. He knows that the leader will be hitting on the caterpillar, which he comes.
Modov still stationary. Now he goes. It's 16 seconds, about a second slower than Mies.
He's gonna get
be
just ahead.
Extremely close. As they get to the braking zone, he's got the track position. Karl Modov is ahead, and they return to exactly how they were before without Stephen Ash. It was 4, then it was 3, and now it's 2.
And in the end, it will be 1, but look at how wide Mies was on that exit. He wants it now. He knows his first victory in this series. It is just half a second away. He can see it, and he can see the man, the myth, the legend, Karl Modov in this series. Just ahead of him, and Modov goes wide, and here comes Mies into the lead. They are side by side show heading into turn number 6. Oh, it's Modov locking up his brakes, and that means Mies will go into the lead. This is amazing. Too much pressure maybe for Karl Modov. Maybe it was the golden tires after a pit stop. Maybe it was the extra fuel load. Either way, Modov making a mistake, and Mies was right there to capitalize on it. And now it will be up to the man from Chile to hold on to that lead against one of the legends.
Remember, it was on turn 5, that very turn, lap 1, that we saw Karl Modov, if I could get my tongue under control, do the same thing. Just blew the corner and gave up the lead. So twice in one race. Mies now, though, has to play defense because we've seen Karl is no slouch. And if he was saving fuel in that first stint, you have to imagine there might be a little bit of pace left in the car.
Yeah, there has to be some pace left. And Modov was a little bit faster on the first stint than Rodrigo. Rodrigo had the draft and he wasn't able to get close, but I'm wondering how much has Rodrigo saved his tire? How much has he saved knowing that there will not be a battle on the first stint, but here he has to defend to the inside heading onto the main straight because car is very fast indeed. And he doesn't seem to be bothered too much, but there is some traffic in front of him as well in the form of Lawson Christian. Lawson is just gonna have to watch his mirrors because here come the leaders. Here comes Rodrigo and here comes Carr, and they are both able to get through just fine. And Rodrigo once again going a little bit wide in first corner. He is giving it 10-10s now, and so is Karl Modov. And look at them, both in their Porsches, no difference between the cars. Might be some difference in the setups, but nothing major so far. Look at Carl all tucked up, and Joe, it's gonna be a great battle, and it's gonna last for a long time, I hope.
Yeah, 20 minutes of it, hopefully, so that we get it all the way to the line, side by side, and strong onto the brakes. But this has been his weakness, too strong on the brakes at times. Karl Modov, though, around the outside of turn 5, takes the lead back at the one spot where he's lost it twice.
Yeah, that was an awesome job on the braking, able to get it turned in on the outside of turn number 5. Not easy, I can tell you that much. And Rodrigo taking the grass a little bit into the next couple of corners. So he's losing some time, but even Carr is missing apexes now. He couldn't quite nail the apex in the corner before Carousel, and as a result of that, Rodrigo is right up to him. But I'll have to see the top speeds of these guys as well, because Rodrigo, he's been a little bit slow in the straight, so maybe he is running a bit more wing in his car too. Let's see how they go through the kink. Both are very clean indeed, and Rodrigo still able to hang on.
And this has allowed Stephen Ash to start to close in. It's 1.7 seconds where it was 2.5 just a couple laps ago. I'm sure he's enjoying them battling back and forth as it could allow him to sneak a win potentially. Now, worth noting in the championship situation as well, there's only 5 points between Modov and Mies, and first to second place before you get to bonus points, that's a 3 point difference. So that swing would leave them 2 points apart until we count in those bonus points after this round, depending on if Mies can beat Modov, which he certainly seems intent on doing, because look at this run down the front stretch to turn one, down to the outside. Modov going to force him the long way around. It worked for Carl in turn 5. What about in turn 1 for Mies? He's got at least a little bit of an overlap, but no more.
Yeah, Rodrigo made the mistake of trying it on the. Oh, that's a late launch to the inside. Not gonna able to make it work, but he sent a warning signal. And as for that turn one, Rodrigo, he turned in a little bit too early. Then he realized that, yeah, I'm gonna hit car if I turn in too early. So he had to let go of the wheel and turn in again. He had to make two moves to turn into the corner. So next time maybe he will try to turn in a little bit later, try to get a little bit closer and get some more speed through that corner. Then you'll able to make it work. But that's always the most difficult thing on the outside, being able to judge and to gauge where that guy on the inside of the corner actually is going to be. Will he stay to the inside? Will he run wide? How much room do I have to leave him? And that is what Rodrigo Mies is going to have to judge at this point in the race. But he has time on his side. He has further time on his side, so he can just play it safe, play it smooth, keep pressuring car, and see if there's another mistake in the driver of the car number
Ooh.
948.
There's a mistake in the 88 as he
Yeah.
put two wheels in the dirt coming out of the carousel and somehow kept it together, but that cost him. Remember earlier how I was saying it was 1.7 seconds back to Ash? Well, it's 1.5 now. He's chopped it down. It was actually 1.2 for a few moments, and then they responded, gapping Steven a little bit more. There you see him on screen in the green and black Porsche, trying to close in on Rodrigo Mies. If he gets more off tracks like that from the 88, he could get the second.
He could indeed. And look at Stephen Nash, trying very hard, pushing very hard at this point. I was watching him at the extra carousel. He went a little bit wide, had to correct it. Stephen Nash once again going a little bit wide on Canada corner, or not going wide, but he was, wiggling a little bit on the extra corner. And that's the great thing about these cars. You would think that traction control would disallow these drivers to go from going sideways. Nah, you can easily see when they're pushing it. You can see a tiny bit of slip angle. You can see how the car is just being pushed to its absolute limit, and that is what Ash is doing every single exit. And he turned in a little bit too much on the exit even at that point, so he lost a bit of time. And Eisler, he's getting closer and closer as well. I'm gonna have to see the gaps, and you know who else? Jesse T. Stevens, don't look now, but 6.3 seconds off the lead. So he has actually gained a second here.
He's coming back forward. I was going to say that what's impressive that the top 6 are within 10 seconds of each other, and we're 45 minutes into this race. So any one mistake from these top drivers could wind up losing a spot and could get them onto the podium. Really, our focus has been on the top 3, but you have to give credit to Eisler, who sits in 4th back behind them, along with Stevens, who you mentioned regaining a lot of ground, and then Anthony Pisano, bit of a dark horse here. He's the one 10 seconds back from the top spot in the number 21. It's not really been flashy today, but he's got a good result coming his way if he can just keep it on the track.
Yeah, he has, and he's been one of those guys who has, been calm and consistent through these races. And consistency is a key throughout the championship season. Sure, every driver wants to win a race. That's why they're doing it. Every single driver will go out there with the aim of winning this race. And if you no longer do that, then you should hang up your gloves. Because if you no longer want to win, that's just it for a racing driver. But If over the course of a long season, you should also think, do I want to pass this guy or do I want these safe points? Do I want to push it to maybe close up a 5 second gap with 10 minutes to go, or do I want to, just take the points once again? And we have an incident, I believe, too, and a replay up.
Yeah, this is Stacy Dunnigan down in 22nd, coming through turn 6. Ooh, he did a good job of keeping that out of the wall. You're going to see here coming off of the corner. I think he catches a little bit of grass or something because this Ferrari whips off to the side. There it is. Just gets it stopped in time.
Yeah, great job staying out of that wall. Oh, here comes Mies again, actually for the lead.
And Justin Rame is in for a second pit stop.
Yeah,
Did
but
he
here is
not put
Mies
enough
side by
fuel
side
in?
with the and Karl Modov as well. They are side by side, but Mies is not quite able to make it work around the outside. Try to do a car, but not able to make it work.
And we are understanding that Justin Ray might be serving a penalty for too many incidents. Let's stay on this battle, though. 3/10 between Modov and Mies. Mies once again on the attack. That gap went back up to 2.5 seconds back to Stephen Ash. Maybe they feel safe once again. I kind of noticed that they calmed down for a little bit, Ozzy. And I wonder if Rodrigo was just kind of saying, all right, I don't need a 3-player battle here. I just want to stretch away and then we can get back into things.
Yeah, but I think Stephen Nash has burned his tires now because he's very, very hairy on the exit of those corners, and he has lost time where he should be gaining time on the leaders. He has lost time, and a couple of times I've seen him, continue to slide away from the exit of the corner, little bit towards the middle of the track, and that just tells to me that he was trying his best to wrestle that thing back into control after getting loose on the exit. So now he maybe just has to concede that lead battle, which will be agonizing because he can see them all the time and he knows the glory of a race win. It is only a couple of seconds away. And Cal Guin is around further back as well. So Horacio Cal Guin around in the exit of the Canada corner. That's an interesting one.
And Ross got a piece of him in the process of it. You're going to see it here. This is Cal Quinn in the red, white, and blue Ford, and then Ross in the black machine coming through there, sees him spinning and just manages to avoid to the side, and a glancing blow should hopefully not cost him too much.
No, not at all. I don't see Sean Romy catching up to Michael Ross anymore at this point in the race. Ross losing a little bit of time, and he's once again, in that little bit of a no man's land. Is Michael M. Ross? He has some companies in the Ford GD intercar battle, but he's keeping the car black, and he has even mentioned that he was thinking about getting some sponsorships, getting some stickers to that car. But everyone seems to like that matte black Ford GD so much that he's thinking of keeping it that way. And I'm not saying you shouldn't get any logos on that car, Michael, but remember what Henry Ford said: car can be any color as long as it is black.
Also, by the way, don't need to go to it. Dunnigan had another off in Canada corner. He's struggling at the end of this race, but still continuing on. Let's keep our eyes fixed here on this battle with between Mies and Modov. Mies looking for a win, Modov looking for his second of the season. They come down into Canada corner. Mies appears to have backed off. He's been keeping it at about half a second behind Karl Modov for the last couple laps ever since his last attack. Has he run out of juice, or is he just cooling those tires off?
Maybe he's biding his time, he's scanning car motor for any mistakes, and once he sees a weakness, then, well, I don't know, but you can maybe a Metallica reference here, or maybe you can just call him Rodrigo Misi can destroy. I don't know, but he's looking for the final strike.
Well,
Mr. Misi can destroy.
there you go. I like that. Up into 10 minutes left to go, starting another lap here. They run about 2 minutes a lap, so we're looking at 5 more left to try and decide this race. They've now gapped Ash to 3 seconds, so they are continuing to drop that number 11 machine. In fact, as much as I made a big deal about the top 6 being within 10 seconds, they've all kind of spread apart from one another behind them at this point. This is really our closest fight at the top of the field. Mees not making it attack down into turn 5, and this time not missing the apex, at least not by much for Carl Modoff.
No, not at all. And Rodrigo me is catching up to him. I've noticed Rodrigo leaves those little gaps at times. He's making tiny errors and then he's able to catch up to him once again. So he's not letting Modov run away from this one. Remember that battle we saw between Jesse T. Stevens and Rodrigo Mies at Sebring show? I think that was a doozy. That was for a second place. And even then, we saw Rodrigo being very clean in his driving, being very methodical about his attacks, and he lost that battle. But I think he won our hearts in that one, and we are seeing a lot of the same here. He's being very methodical, and this is a guy that comes from Chilean local small car racing, production car racing at local tracks. You usually see those guys being very aggressive, having to be very aggressive, but he's anything but. And that's a very surprising feature, but he's displaying a lot of racing intelligence, is Rodrigo Mies. And that combined with his obvious speed, I think that's a great combination to have.
I wonder if because of his real world racing experience, he's gotten that sense of protecting the car. And that's why he's so methodical, just trying to work his way through it and then not really throw away, thousands of dollars equipment in real life. Even though the car is free here, if you've been it still costs you championship points. So coming across turn 1 and down into 3 once again, he keeps it at that steady half a second gap up to Carl Modoff. If he wants to beat him over the course of a championship, I can tell you, Rodrigo, from watching Carl compete in multiple seasons, you're going to have to beat him out here on track.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. But Rodrigo certainly giving him, an eye-opening thing that he's able to hang on to Karmodov, because it is not a large number of people that are able to hang on to Karmodov, not in these championships. We've seen Jesse Stevens early on in this race. We've seen Ash and Eisler do it sometimes, but really it's not a large group. And it reminds me a lot of Lotus 79 maybe with Gernot Frisch, in the lead of that group a lot of the time. And I always say the best driving school for Lotus 79 is 1 second behind Gernot Frisch. Unfortunately, it's not a driving school that allows for many people in attendance because not many people are able to get it. Modov, on the other hand, he's more of a guy who is usually calm and consistent, but he's able to find that absolute crushing pace at some point. But he's also finding ways to eke out every last bit of performance from that GTE car. And I think Rodrigo, what he's doing here, he's watching, he's learning, and he is learning fast, and he's thinking of ways of how can he attack.
Let's give a little bit of a quick reminder of some of our other close fights. Maybe, no, actually, no, let's stay here because this is the best run we've seen from Mies coming up the front stretch. I wonder if that was a small bobble from Modoff off the final corner. He went immediately defensive. Oh, and he's going to try and have to hold him off the long way around. Now, he's done this before. Oh, he outbreaks himself, and he's off the course. Rodrigo Mies, and his one chance throws it away.
He hit the grass. He hit the grass on the outside. He was trying to get a little bit too wide. Hit the grass. He was aiming to brake on that little bit of a curb to the left, but he was braking it just a bit earlier. And once he turned in, he was a passenger. But for a moment, he was ahead of Karmodov. Unfortunately, and sorry for those who lost their ears, he also lost that podium position, and indeed has dropped all the way down to P number 5 as a result of that. But I will give him credit. He tried.
It was the smallest of touches to the grass. And that sent him down to 5th. So Ash is now in 2nd. We talked about the cool collected drive as we now, is this Fredes in a little bit of a fight? This is trying to get past Romig to his outside as they come down into turn 5. He's going to outbrake him, but he gets a little bit too hard on the throttle, so Romig pulls the over-under, and he's going to get it right back into 6th.
Yeah, well done from Sean Romig, identifying that there is a chance on the exit and not actually running into Fredes on the exit. That would have been so easy to do once Fredes lost it. He stayed calm and he put the throttle on and moved to the left at just the right time and is able to say to Fredes, no, you can't get it that way. You're going to have to try again, sir.
How about Christian Eisler in all of this? This guy qualified 10th, and the Iceman has now moved himself up into the podium. So obviously didn't really like the car in qualifying trim, but the 727, this is another one that we haven't seen a whole lot of except for very early in the race, I'd say, where I think there was a small battle, but other than that, he just has been rifling off the laps. Meanwhile, we stay on the fight here between Fredes and Romig coming out of Canada corner. Romig holding track position in eighth.
Yeah, and Fredes is very close to the back of him. Fredes knows that he had him already once. He could be ahead of him, but he also knows that there's not much ahead of them that they can catch on to at these final laps of the race. So he will just have to take this fight to the end. And Romig knows the same. So Romig will be using every single inch he has of that Porsche to make it as wide as possible, and as such, not allow Fredes room to go through. But Fredes mighty fast on the straight line and mighty aggressive on the entry of the corner. You can see him snapping a little bit on the entry there, so he will try his best to get past Romig, but it will not be easy. But this will be a good battle.
Ford versus Porsche. Off the corner this time, Romig with a slightly better launch, but the slipstream equalizes things as Fredes starts to pull him back in. You can see him getting bigger on this gearbox cam. And down to the inside, defensive move from Romig, keeping him back. Thinks better of it. A little bit of blinking too from Fredes.
Yeah, some minor blinking, but he's able to get it back under control. Romik was cheating a little bit there, not cheating in the wrong way, just cheating to the inside, leaving a car with Inter. And I think Fredes was looking into it and thinking, if I was just a little bit closer, I could launch in there, but not doing it this time by. But you can see him thinking. You can see the cogs working in his brain, and you can see the racing driver in him going like, if this was the last lap, I might just fancy it and look out for that move in case Romik decides to be a little bit sloppy on his defense once again.
So down into the kink one more time. We've already seen one driver get a penalty, we believe, for too many incidents. Fredes does have to keep concerned about that as well, because you could wind up with a time penalty after the race if you make that last lunge and accrue too many of them. They're coming up to lap traffic. This is Bill Kraus, who we've already seen the leaders go by a little earlier. He's been pretty good about getting out of the way of people. Let's see what he can do here. He's going to get a nice opportunity up the front stretch, and there he goes.
Yeah, and he's doing it very well too, being very predictable about it, moving out of the way, seeing that there is enough gap so I can move out of the way. And Bill Kraus is not in a bad position himself. He is 25th after starting 35th. He started all the way to the back and he's gained up to 10 positions thanks to other people crashing out mostly. Oh, and here comes Fredes trying it on the outside, but not enough room there. So he's certainly getting more and more aggressive as this goes now. And meanwhile, further ahead, Joe, I believe it is who you dubbed the Iceman, getting ever closer to Steve Nash.
I will have to give credit to Bill Zahn, who dubbed Christian Eisler the Iceman. Right now, he's calmly and coolly closing in on Steven, but he's still about 8/10 back, so he's not within attacking range. We will get white flag next time by from Karl Modoff, and there you see the lap comparison of Eisler chopping away at that lead.
Yeah, he's being consistently a little bit faster. We can see last time by 202.2, Stephen Nash 202.7, losing half a second last time by. Unfortunately for Eisler, he will really have to get on it at this point because the gap is still almost a second. It is a second. And as they come to white flag, he only has so many opportunities, so he really has to find something or hope that Stephen Nash will crack on these last couple of corners.
Bad
and
news
the last
for,
lap as well.
for fans of Fredes. He had a slide in turn 6 that didn't send him off course, but cost him a number of tenths on Romig. So that battle has gone away. In the meantime, we should get the white flag from Modoff. It's going to be a little tight here, but as he comes to the line with a few seconds left, yes, indeed, he will get the white flag. 3-second gap back to Stephen Nash. He's maintained it to about 9/10 to Eisler. There you see the Ford of Christian Eisler still giving chase. But as you said, a lot of work to do in very little time if he wants second place. That's if he wants it. Third place is a good run from 10th. I don't know if I'd be pushing that hard.
He's a racing driver. he will be pushing it, trust me. But he will be also biding his time and seeing if he can actually, get a run that will work. Because if he doesn't see a clear overtaking opportunity, there's no point just sending it in at the last lap and wrecking yourself and your competitor. You don't want to do that. That's the last thing you want to do. Just because it's last lap, it doesn't allow for idiotic moves. And I'm sure Eisler will know that, and he will know that. If Ash makes a mistake, maybe I'll get one more chance. And he is getting mighty close. So suddenly, Stephen Nash, I was looking at him earlier. He had maybe burnt his tires a little bit, so he will just have to be conservative, calm, and collected here on the last lap. And so far, so good for him.
If they do come together, Jesse Stevens would actually promote himself back onto the podium. Actually, second place if he gets by both of them. But this is all a big if at this point, and there's very few corners left to try and decide those ifs. Huber going for a last lap attempt as he tries to attack Hodgson. He's been in a battle with him, and Huber is going to manage to get it.
Yeah, looking earlier, that was a good battle, good tight group for those guys. But it has been tight groups for Karl Modov as well. He's heading on to Bill Mitchell Bend and 10 into the last corner. But Joe, he's been the class of the field today, but he really, really had to fight for it.
He absolutely did. He's earned it. It's going to be win number 2 for Karl Modov as he climbs up the hill the last time today to cross the line and take the victory here in Wisconsin. Ash responded to the pressure and pulled himself away, weaving in celebration. He loves that second place. Eisler with a well-earned third. Stevens recovers after some contentious moves to get fourth.
Yeah, he will, and it will be a disappointed Rodrigo Mies in the 5th place. Behind them, it'll be a couple of other guys. No last lap fights that I'm seeing. That group between Mac Miller, Ken Huber, and Jason Hodgson, it is still mighty close, but I think Huber's gonna keep that 14th place he earned on the last lap and not able to get a run. Oh, that's Bill Cross. Okay, he was one lap down,
Yeah.
thankfully, but he spun to the last corner, but I almost had a heart attack there.
Yeah, I recognized him. That's why I didn't panic when I saw that. So Miller will manage to get himself into 13th position. Nice run for him, followed by Huber and then Hodgson in 14th and 15th. That is our last battle. Everybody from there on down, many, many seconds apart, all the way until you get to James LeBlond, who is the last car on the lead lap. No, I take that back. Looks like Brett Thurman actually is the last one. And he actually had a wreck. Let's see if we can pull this up. Oh, and this involved LeBlanc. SRT teammates might be sister teams. I'll double check our sheet that we have here.
And you can see LeBlanc, he had already finished the race, and he was just running wide, trying to give him room, and then he lost it on the grass, and as a result of that, he actually managed to hit Brett Thurman, who in turn lost it and then hit the outside wall, and that's not what you want to see. That's I'm sorry that we had to actually bring it up, Joe.
A bit embarrassing, I'm sure, but I mean, I don't think he lost in any positions.
Yeah, Thurman blew up his engine actually on the penultimate corner, and it's a run up the hill from the last corner.
He's gonna want his teammate to back up and come get him, I think.
Yeah, Sean Romig is still on track too, so maybe Sean can help him. But it's a run up the hill, and let's stay with this actually. I want to see if he finishes.
I don't think he's got the speed for it. There it is on screen. 26 miles an hour. Yeah, he's going to coast to a halt. He won't. He's going to need a little bit of help. So that is
Come
unfortunate.
On, starter motor, mate. Starter motor. Or he's going to be asking maybe Sean Romig, because Sean Romig is quite close by. We'll be able to see if Sean can identify the situation and give him a helping hand. We've seen some camaraderie here before, and no.
No. Oh,
Denied.
Sean. Oh,
Cold
all right.
hearted.
There's a lonely car stopped feet from the line. We're going to save him more embarrassment, and we'll go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because we'll have all the upcoming races here on the channel on screen. Welcome back to Road America. We just watched round three here in the PRL GTE Sports Car Series. Carl Modoff was our winner today. And even though he started on pole, twice he gave away the lead. He fought his way back and made up for his errors and showed everybody else how it's done. Stephen Ash as well, coming from sixth on the grid to a second place. He sure seemed happy about that one. We're going to get to talk to him in a bit to see what kind of celebrations he's got in order for that run. Christian Eisler did even better from 10th to 3rd onto the podium for the Iceman, with Jesse Stevens had a little bit of contact with Carl Modoff at one point. Carl did apologize in the chat after the race, so clearly not an intentional move, but Jesse Stevens, who briefly led this race, unfortunately shoved off and had to come back for 4th. Rodrigo Mies, a mistake for him, cost him a potential victory. He wound up coming back in 5th place with Anthony Pisano coming home in 6th. Then you get Michael Ross in that flat black car coming in 7th, with Sean Romig going from 12th to 8th, and Ignacio Fredes in P9. Ratio Calquin rounds out your top 10.
And in 11th place, it is Rafael Russo, and finishing 12th behind him, Andres Espinosa. Mac Miller 13th, Ken Huber 14th, Jason Hodgson rounding out the top 15. Then it's David Duino 16th, Kyle Strikart 17th, Jeff Carollo 18th, Ted Lewendick 19th, and Sean Duhamel rounding out the top 20.
Then you get into 21st. It was Justin Rame who unfortunately suffered a penalty earlier in the race. Jay Steffi, 22nd for him, with James LeBlanc in 23rd. Both of them coming up a roughly 10 places. Brett Thurman was the first one a lap down, unfortunately, not be able to find the finish line with his engine expiring. Bill Kraus behind him at 25th, and Jean Marc Tremblay, another one lap down at 26th. From there, you get DNFs all the way on down to the end. So, an unfortunate end for those drivers, but not for Carl Modoff, who takes win number 2 in this season. First one came in the first round, second one coming here at Road America. And as we pull Carl into the booth here, looks like, Carl, you've managed to rack up another one, but let's talk about turn 5 a little bit here, because it seemed to be a little bit of an Achilles heel today. Twice you handed away the lead. Was that cold tires both times?
Yeah, turn 5, man. Yeah, cold tires both times. The track was really hot, or very slippery, anyways, compared to throughout the week. Most of us, I think, were facing the same issue. And, I tried to brake a little earlier than normal, and I was trying to just drive nice and easy, especially out of the pits on the first lap. But just right at the bottom when everything compresses, just a little too much brake pressure there, locked up, and cost me huge. I probably could have got it into the corner both times, but the risk of spinning was, once you get the car rotating like that. So I just decided it's a long race. Let's go off the track. But yeah, definitely not something you want to do to start the race. Like, build your confidence, like blowing the end of the straightaway.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a little bit embarrassing. But then off also seemed you had that incident with Jesse. We saw you apologize post race. Thoughts on that battle? It did look a little aggressive from Jesse's front, if we're honest.
Yeah, I don't ever want to make contact with another competitor. So, I wanted to race it out. So I'm sorry that we weren't able to finish and have a badass, back and forth battle. Sorry for my language. But, I felt that he was making a lot of late maneuvers braking, under braking. So, I thought it was the outside. I got on my brakes, and then he kind of, I don't know, I'll have to watch it back and see what happened. I felt like he was moving under braking a lot, and that's kind of what happened. I felt for 5 there, just kind of moved over, just hit my left front a little bit. Might even been a little bit of net code there, but yeah, a little bit of aggressive racing there. I don't mind that, but yeah, unfortunate we had to make contact.
You just meant a donkey, as in the biblical sense. So, uh, next round, we're heading off to Spa, which is another very high speed track like this one. You could almost count Sebring a bit like that, I would say. Do you think that these very fast courses are kind of your forte compared to places like Lime Rock?
Uh, I don't know. I think I like the technical stuff. So Sebring really technical with all the bumps. Lime Rock, it's unfortunate my set ended up blowing the left front tire out, with 5 to go or whatever. I was having a good race there. Um, Here, I've always really loved this track, and it is very technical when you get really into the weeds. And then, so yeah, I like the more technical driving, and I feel like some of these tracks, give that. Spa is tough. I think it's going to be really hard next week. The BMW makes a lot of downforce and a lot of mid range power, so it's great for that track. I think Jesse will be tough, but we saw Rodrigo is really fast, and he's going to be tough to. He's going to be right there too, and the Fords, they've kind of gotten a boost, and the Ferraris with the BOP change this week. So next week could be anyone's game. Looking forward to it and getting some good practice in. So hopefully I can pull off another one.
Well, you certainly got your work cut out for you because there are some fast drivers in here now. Congratulations on another victory, sir.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks, GSRC, PRL, everyone for hosting this, and then Delta Sport team for just all the support. Appreciate it, guys.
Was Carl Modoff our winner here today at Road America. Up next, second place finisher Stephen Ash, ready to join us as Ossian has caught up with him.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Stephen, yes, hello, Stephen. Hello, 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 and congratulations. It was a great podium for you. And early portions of that race, you were very close to that battle pack. We saw that three-car battle turned into four-car battle near the lead. Were you just biding your time early on, or did you have aspirations going for the lead there?
Yeah, coming off the P2 last week at Lime Rock, I was feeling really confident coming into this week, and I think I had really good pace, but I was struggling a little bit to keep with those guys at the front there. But I was just biding my time, trying to keep my tires in good shape, saving a little bit of fuel, and just trying to stay with them and make good on their mistakes, and it eventually worked out. And yeah, I'm very happy with P2.
So how about after the pit stops? You were the one who saw Rodrigo Mies coming to the pits. Then you pitted next time by leaving it as late as possible. After that, we saw a little bit of a charge from you trying to catch up to the leaders. But I'm guessing you ran out of tires.
Yeah. The tires this season with the changes they've made, they go off a lot more towards the end of the race, especially in the 1 hour races. So I was losing a little bit of tires, and yeah, I mean, Mies and Carl Modoff, they're fast, man. So I was trying to stick with them the best I could, and yeah, Mies made a little mistake. You put a tire on the grass there, and I was able to capitalize and bring home a P2.
Yeah, and it was a great result for you. And once again, after Lime Rock Park, you were doing very well. You're doing quite well, rising up the standings after the unfortunate DNF at Sebring. So, how about the next race? How about Spa? How do you like that place?
Oh, Spa is one of my favorite tracks. I mean, I've been a lifelong F1 fan, so Spa Francorchamps, I mean, that's up there as one of my favorite tracks of all time. And I drive it a ton in various cars, so I'm really, really looking forward to that.
They call the driver who finished behind you, Christian Eisler, they call him the Iceman. But are you going to do a Kimi like performance for us at Spa?
I certainly hope so. I mean, Kimmy has a lot of wins at Spa, so hopefully I can get my first one there. I have two P2s so far, so yeah, just got to get onto that top step.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. And if you like to have any greeting shout outs or anything, go ahead, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
Stephen Nash,
I
position number 2.
yeah, I just want to say one last thing. I just want to thank all the guys at Full Send Racing and my team owner Steen Ledger. They're a big reason I'm here doing this, and also my teammate Mac Miller. He's a great guy and a great racer. And just finally to my parents, Richard, Sarah, and my girlfriend Brooke for supporting me through this, as well as the PRL guys and you guys here at GSRC. You guys do a really great job, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you to all the drivers who make it possible. It would be a boring race without the drivers in the field. We could get the cameras, we could get the trackside, we could provide commentary, but in the end show, it would be quite boring to commentate an empty track.
Yeah,
Indeed,
thanks, guys.
we greatly appreciate all the entertainment that they are giving us right now. As there's a lot of people who could really use that distraction in the world today. So we're going to thank a few people that's helped make this possible, including our sponsors. Once again, you can check out Simulation Motorsports Affinity at simsa.net if you'd like to see how you can get involved in the world of sim racing. And also, if you have a sim rig and you want to see how to improve it, check out the Butt Kicker. You can find them at thebuttkicker.com. They have all kinds of cool stuff to add to the realism of your sim rig. Also, thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Ossian, Jay, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media where our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. The link is in the description below, where while you're down there, make sure and subscribe here to our channel. Just click the big red button that says subscribe. The next race is going to be at Spa, as we mentioned, Tuesday, April 7th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.